All right, YouTube, what's up? So this is video number 2. I appreciate everybody that watched the last one, and especially those people that threw me a like and a subscription. I think we had 7 subscriptions. So everybody else that watches it, please like and subscribe. That would make me extremely happy. So this video is going to be about how to find deals and how I find deals. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit shorter than the last one. So here we go. Basically, right now I got a couple offers out on some places. I'm talking with a bunch of sellers. We're negotiating, stuff like that. Some people aren't quite ready to sell yet, but are keeping me in the loop. So there's some good things going. We're making some progress. All in all, feeling good, feeling confident. So hopefully some of this stuff works out, and I'll keep you guys posted. Next time I walk through someplace, as long as I have the time, I'll take some videos and we'll talk about some of that stuff just to give some different looks on the camera. But basically, finding deals, 3 different sources really that I see. Source number 1 is going to be your direct to seller marketing. Now that marketing can be in the form of a bunch of different things. You could find some post on Craigslist that some guy's selling his house, right? And you can call him up. That's direct to the seller. There's nobody in between you. You're going direct to the source. Now, Craigslist doesn't always provide the best stuff, but not a bad place to start learning. Aside from that, you can figure out, who owns the property at 1 Main Street. You can skip trace their information, get their phone number, get their email, and you can give them a call, see if they're trying to sell. But all of that stuff is going to be going direct to the source. That's what I like to do. I'll break down why I like to do that after, but basically that's what I find is most efficient and cost effective. Number 2 is going to be going through a wholesaler or an agent. So a wholesaler is somebody that basically has a property under contract. They're selling that contract. So you can buy that contract from them as long as the numbers work out. A lot of times they don't, because a lot of times people put stuff under contract that the numbers don't work on, especially nowadays where prices are going like crazy. But you can get stuff from a wholesaler that they might just be trying to make $10,000, but you can flip it and make 50. You just have to put in 4 months, 5 months, 6 months of work. So if that's the avenue you're trying to take, that's not a bad idea. Connecting with wholesalers is always a good idea because you never know who's going to bring you your next deal. That's why it's so important to always talk to people about what you're doing and what you're trying to do, because your net worth in real estate is your network. The more people that know what you're doing, the more people that are bringing you deals, the more likely you're going to get actual deals that actually work and numbers actually make you make a profit. Along with wholesalers, you can go through an agent. You can put offers in on the MLS. Shout out Dan, you're the GOAT. That's my agent. If anybody needs an agent in Maine, Dan is the man. Shoot me a Instagram DM or something, and I'll give you his contact info because he really knows his stuff, and he's been super, super helpful to me. We've gone and looked at quite a few places on the MLS, but nothing's really panned out so far. For various reasons, but we've put a couple offers in on some places that just hasn't come through yet. But having a good agent on your side is super helpful to verify some of the information that you know to be true. So especially when you're getting started out, when I first found that place in Biddeford that I wholesaled, that I told you guys about in the last video, when I had it and I figured out, I think this is a really good deal, Dan was one of the first people that I was like, hey man, do you think this is a good deal? And he told me, he was like, yeah, that's a really, really good deal. So having a good agent is super important in my opinion. Not only for listing the properties that you're gonna eventually get to selling, also putting in offers on properties on the MLS if you're trying to go like the FHA or conventional route, but also having somebody to give you a second opinion on stuff. So agents are super helpful. The third form is going to be any sort of referral or direct hot lead, warm lead, whatever you want to call it. Now that could be somebody that's just trying to sell their house. They don't want to list it with an agent. They don't want to list it on the MLS. It needs work. It needs whatever. And they know, hey, Brandon likes to flip houses. Brandon likes to own multifamilies, whatever. What would you give us for this house? And then you get to be the first one to give them an offer. Now that offer might not be what they want. They might want full retail, but at the end of the day, you might get a lead from that just by telling someone what you're doing. I know a bunch of people that have had this work happened to them where somebody brought them something just because they were just always in Home Depot buying supplies, or they had a friend that knew somebody's grandparents that were selling their older home and needed it fixed up. Stuff like that. Along with that, if you have any sort of advertisements around town, you have a giant billboard on the highway that says, I buy houses. Somebody calls you from that's kind of a third party. They're coming to you. Same thing with a website. You know, with your search engine optimization, your SEO, stuff like that. If that's awesome and you're getting a bunch of leads from your website, then that, I would say, is like the warm lead referral category, where you're not necessarily reaching out to that person cold. So like I said, I do mostly direct to seller. So basically I use Propstream. I like Propstream, but Batch Leads is another good one. It's basically a giant collection of data that you can go through and you can sift out whatever you want. So you figure out what your buy box is. There's people that talk about buy boxes all the time in real estate. Basically, what interests you and what fits your buying criteria, you can filter that out on Propstream. It's not always 100% great, but it gives you a good list to start from. You pull all of the addresses and all of the names associated with those addresses that own it. And then from there, you skip trace it. So skip tracing is basically figuring out contact information for those entities or those people. And then you pick up the phone and start dialing, just like Leo said in Wolf of Wall Street.
Credit card bills? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Is your landlord ready to evict you? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Does your girlfriend think you're a fucking worthless loser? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. I want you to...
So I'm going to show you guys how to do that on Propstream. But that's what I like to do. I don't really love cold calling people, but that's where I've gotten pretty much all my leads from. So I find that to be the best form of marketing. You can also do email blasts, text blasts. I know those are pretty good. Those have gotten people success for sure. You can do mailing campaigns. I mail people too, but there's just a lot more competition with mailing. It's a lot easier for somebody to send out a mailer, I personally think, than it is to negotiate with someone on the phone. But there's success to be had everywhere. So you kind of figure out what your avenue is and what your budget is. That's also super important. I think cold calling is the cheapest. It cost me 12 cents to skip trace somebody's name and number and get their number, whereas it cost me 75 cents to $1 to send a letter. So that's what I like to do. But let's check out Propstream, and I'll show you guys how to pull some lists just like I do, and we can move from there. Like I said, let's break down what happens in Propstream. So this is my Propstream account. I have Auburn already pulled up, just because it's easy to pull a list from Auburn, with, the criteria that I'm potentially looking for. So basically all you have to do is search whatever place you're looking. Auburn, Maine, right? Put in your criteria, whatever you want. I had the most luck with tired landlords so far. So a tired landlord is basically somebody that kind of has let their property go a little bit. It needs some maintenance, but isn't necessarily falling in. It could be. But they basically just don't really care about it anymore, and they don't want to list it on the MLS. They don't want to pay somebody an extra commission. They're just kind of usually I find stingier people that just have let their property go and don't really care about it anymore. And when you come in and you offer them cash for it, it's oh, cool. How much are you going to offer me? And sometimes it ends up working out. Sometimes it doesn't. So I like to market towards tired landlords. I market towards a bunch of different groups, but that's just the one that I'm going to talk about right here. So we're going to go non-owner occupied. I'm not going to click vacant because Propstream's data on vacancy isn't always 100% great. We're going to go multifamilies. We're going to go to MLS status, not on the MLS. We're going to go to ownership info. Let's go, 5+ years, right? And then equity. We want somebody with equity, right? Because if they don't have any equity, then how can they sell their house to us for a discount, right? So just in that search, we got 142 properties. That's a pretty good list to start with. That's a pretty good list to call on, to skip trace. That's going to cost you I don't know, like $10, $12, $14. So that's totally doable. You can do that. And 142 people, I mean, you could call that in a week easily if you were grinding it. I like to call. I don't do 142 a week. It kind of depends. Specifically what I have going on. If I have a bunch of stuff kind of in the pipeline that I'm like getting close to closing, then I might tone it down a little bit just because I don't have the capital necessarily to close everything right now. I could wholesale a bunch of it, but wholesaling is a little bit trickier up here. So I try to play it by ear. But if we want to select a couple of these, we're going to add them to a list. We're going to go towards test, save it to test lists. And then if we go check it out in my properties, it's going to be there. So we got these 3 properties. We're going to go new campaign. You can send them postcards, which is like mail. I haven't done that, so I don't know how good that is. But skip trace. Oh, sorry, we got to select these 3. We're going to skip trace them. 12 cents. That's all it costs you to skip trace them. And then you basically just pick up the phone and start dialing and solve somebody's problem. Provide them an opportunity to sell their house. It doesn't always have to work out. It's not always going to work out. It's going to suck half the time. But I promise you, if you consistently do this, you will find deals, and you'll come across stuff that you didn't think was out there for sure. So you just have to put the action in. That's the most important thing, putting the action in. So that's just a little bit on Propstream here. If you guys have more questions about lists and Propstream and data and stuff like that, happy to talk about it. Just shoot a comment in and let me know what you want to see. But that's the rundown I got for you. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Just a little bit on some ideas for how you can get started and places you can get moving, trying to find some deals and trying to source some stuff. And I'm happy to explain anything else if you want like a further explanation, but I'm not trying to just drone on about topics. So if anybody has any questions, shoot me a comment, shoot me a DM, a text, whatever it is. Happy to answer it. Happy to talk to anybody about it. But just let me know. Those are just the ways that I've found success. But like I said, everybody's going to have a different buy box. So whatever is in that box is what you're going to search for. And it might be completely different than what I'm searching for. Maybe you want to do short-term rentals. Your stuff's going to be totally different. So you just got to figure out first, what's your buy box? And second, how can I take action? There's so many videos out there about taking action. You'll figure it out on the way. Like I said, with the first place that I went and looked at, it was like a week and I had literally no clue what I was doing. Like absolutely no clue. I didn't know anything. So the more action you take, the more stuff you learn, and then you'll start talking to people and they'll be like, oh wow, like you really know your stuff. Like, wow, you really know what you're doing. I had a seller tell me that the other day when we got him in contract for a place, and then we were talking about some other places that he wanted more money on. But I dropped an idea about seller financing and told him the benefits of seller financing. And he was kind of like a little against it at first. And the more you explain it, if you really know your stuff, the more you explain it, you can show them the benefits of anything. And he was like, oh, wow, you know what? Like, that's actually a pretty good idea. Maybe I'll think about that. Like that actually could help me. That there's great tax benefits. There's great this, there's great that. So go out there, take action, learn your stuff, and let me know in the comments what you guys want to see. Let me know any criticisms, whatever you want. I don't care. Shoot it to me. Appreciate it. See you guys.